It's going to take 7 to 10 years before the grapes mature. I think it only takes 2 weeks to make a beer. For us, sharing this is one of our biggest pleasures, is sharing Omaha, sharing the brewery, but also sharing our family and sharing our home.
Then you could add Omaha Brewing home to The Walking Dead, which could have a lot of different meanings when you're serving beer.
Absolutely.
Welcome to Stout Conversations, where every week we sit down with creative thinkers in the craft beer industry and beyond. Your hosts, Ken and April, live and work in a 24-foot RV, traveling the country in search of great stories around a great beer. Innovative thinking while building a legacy and offering Southern-style hospitality. Welcome to Omaha Brewing in Omaha, Georgia. Small town, big beers, open arms. This week we finally sit down with the family that inspired our Stout Conversations. Doc, Stephanie, Hayden, and the rest of the crew at Omaha Brewing. Their love of family, the outdoors, beer, wine, and their hometown is captivating and welcoming. We hope you feel right at home. So we're back here with Omaha Brewing, and I was telling you earlier that I felt like we were coming home. We really did. When we were driving back here, I was like, oh, I'm really excited. So it's cool to be back here.
That's very sweet.
I pulled up this morning, I was like, oh, they're back!
Yeah.
So Robert works at a dentist office too. It doesn't work, he owns it.
Yeah, that's how we built this brewery, is one tooth at a time.
Yeah.
So.
That's a good one.
That's
So
how
you-
we support the brewery.
Yeah, one tooth at a time.
Yeah.
Well, and we're in Omaha, but Omaha, Georgia, the other Omaha, which is kind of like in the southwestern part of Georgia, and in a fairly rural type area. How did you end up out here to start a brewery?
We wound up here because this is where I was born and raised.
It's home.
It's home. Omaha's, I went to a one-room schoolhouse here.
Wow.
And that was a long time ago. We had 5 grades, 1st through 5th, and 1 teacher, and we had 21 students. And it's just always been home. I'm the youngest of 7 kids. My dad was a carpenter, and Mama was a homemaker and worked in the post office and did whatever she could do, can vegetables and raise a garden and raise 7 kids, 5 boys and 2 girls.
7
So,
kids.
when we started getting closer and closer to semi-retirement, we wanted to come back home, and we were waiting on Hayden to graduate from high school, and the plan all the time was to come back here. And we always kind of laugh, we make plans, and God kind of laughs at us.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, because your original plan wasn't exactly a brewery either, was
it's
it?
not. It was a winery.
Well, no, our original plan was for us to live part-time here and part-time at the beach. So our
Costa
original
Rica.
plan was that we would just have the dental office, and Robert would work in the dental office part-time, and then we would live at the beach part-time.
In Costa Rica.
We
here.
had a home in Costa Rica
At the time.
Okay.
at the time, so we love Costa Rica, but we also were going to look at buying something in St. George. We wanted
Which is on the
something that
panhandle of Florida.
Okay.
the
Which
kids
is a
could drive to, and
Short drive from here.
not a long drive from here, about 3.5 hours. So we wanted something fairly close that we could get back and forth fairly easily. So that was the original plan, was a dental office and a beach house.
And then you went down the rabbit hole.
And then we went down the rabbit hole. Robert had back surgery. So
Yeah.
I had back surgery and didn't know what practicing the industry was going to look like.
So tell us your thoughts then on starting a vineyard compared to then starting a brewery instead.
When we started a vineyard, we had been to Sonoma, Napa several times, and we wanted to do something to create something for this community, but more importantly for our family. We wanted some kind of legacy for them. And so we'd been going to wineries. It was very interesting. We both loved wine.
Mm-hmm.
So we started, we own about 400 acres here, so we took by the dental office, we planted an acre of grapes. And then we wound up going back a month later and we planted 10 acres.
Yeah, you're surrounded by grapes here.
We are now.
It's beautiful,
yes.
yeah.
So, we worked on it, and then we went on a vacation in the late spring, and on the way home we came by a flowing well up here, which is where water just naturally comes out of the ground. We have them here as artesian wells. came back and I looked at Stephanie and I said, that's going to be the name of our first beer. She looked at me and she's like, and there was a lot of words in there that I'm not going to use on camera.
You can use whatever you want on camera.
Basically, she's like, what?
So
I
funny.
thought we were doing a winery. I said, well, I've been thinking about that. I said, it's going to take 7 to 10 years before the grapes mature. It's going to get one crop a year. It's not going to create very many jobs for our family. I said, and I think it only takes 2 weeks to make a beer. And I said, this was 2012. So, and breweries in Georgia were just starting to take off. There was about 20 breweries in Georgia at the time. And I said, if it only takes 2 weeks, I said, we can make beer every 2 weeks. I said, and she said, okay, that's what you want to do. I'm all in. So that's what got it started.
Nice.
We continue to plant grapes, and so now we have 26 acres, and we're continuously, Hayden included, he has helped a lot with the growth of the grapes and cultivating them and growing them and pruning them and trimming them and getting more and more mature so that we get to a point that we actually can open a farm winery here in Georgia.
And
Also.
Hayden, is that what you want to kind of help with when that gets going? You're not sure? Or?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It'll be part of what I do when it comes along, but as things are done...
Right now, you're in the brew house.
Right now,
one of
I'm
the
the
assistant
assistant brewer, and as things are going, it's kind of... that's where I'll be for a while, so... And I love doing it.
That's cool.
Brewing beer is awesome. So.
But then you have an eye on the winery as well?
I do, yeah. I have, like we have been talking about, the grapes have been around for a while, so it's always been in my head on, maybe that's what I'll end up doing. And the last summer I was taking care of all of them. It was a great time. I loved it, and I learned a lot. And there's no reason I can't do both. So.
Yeah.
I like that.
I think Hayden is, 2 of our sons work for the brewery. And Hayden has always had an entrepreneurial spirit about him. And I think that he really envisions just being part of the family business as a whole, whatever that looks like. So, we have a lot of plans on the back burner. The winery. We've talked about doing a distillery because you can, make vodka with the muscadine grapes as well. And so I think that there are a lot of things coming down the pike that Hayden, you just kind of never know where he might end up. But
That plays into that whole legacy. You're building something pretty big here. It started with the brewery, but there's a lot coming down the pike. And going back a little bit to when you started a brewery, like a lot of people across the country think of that as going out to the tap room, the craft brew bar. But when you guys started here in Georgia, that wasn't even really much of a possibility
Not
for
a
you,
possibility at all. I mean,
You were a distribution brewery.
You had to either go big or not do it at all because you had to survive on distribution. So when we started, we went all in. I mean, we bought a beautiful 4-vessel 30-barrel brew house with all the gorgeous stainless that goes with it because you could sell a tour, and basically at the time somebody could buy a tour for $10, and you could give them a couple of beers, and that was it. So
They couldn't pull up to the bar.
No, they couldn't come to the bar. There was no beer to go. There was very limited on how much they could consume. And that's only changed in the last, 2 years, year and a half.
yeah, about a year and a half.
August
But
of 17.
And we actually didn't start with the big 30-barrel brew house. We actually started extremely small. I mean, we created our core brands on a 10-gallon Sabco, basically really nice homebrew system. So the Not a Banana and the Hannahutchee Creek were created on that really small system, and we moved from there into a 1-barrel brew house where we had to brew 3 times to fill a 3-barrel fermenter.
Yeah.
And we brewed on that system for 2 years. That's what we supplied the Columbus market with for 2 years.
That was, and then it wound up being when we went to the big system, that system wound up being our pilot brewery for all the new brands. And what we did for the tasting room, if it was some special event or making a special beer for somebody, or we used it for a long time.
When you guys started the brewery out here, Did you always know that tasting room was eventually coming down the?
We were
You
afraid
figured
it
it
would.
probably was.
We were hoping.
So you had kind of planned for this space, and so you kind of knew you were still going to have to find a way to bring people out here
Yeah.
Absolutely.
because you're not in a sprawling metropolis and
By no means.
just a little bit south of Columbus.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the region that we're in and like the building that we're actually into? Because there's some history behind that.
Sure. The region we're in is one of the poorest in the United States. We used to be the poorest county in the state of Georgia. Now we're considered the second poorest county in the state of Georgia. We were the fifth poorest county in the country. And Omaha, back in the 1800s, was the 10th largest city in the state of Georgia because of the cotton trade. It was all the plantations, and then they would ship the cotton via the river up to Columbus to the mills and make cotton there, and then it went all over the world. And then the Depression hit, and that pretty much just closed Omaha down. I mean, you used to have a hotel and a circus and a movie theater and all kind of stuff. Had a
did
brick
not know that.
factory, and it was a big city. I mean, somebody was telling me the other day that the population of the county back at the turn of the century was like 16,000.
18.
Maybe was it 18,000? And now, I mean, it was down to 4,600 6 years ago. So now it's back up, I'm assuming around 5,000, but for the whole county.
That's for the county, yeah. The town itself here.
For the
is
town
very
itself,
small,
it's
just a-
about 100 people, you know, unless it's a Saturday, and then there's from 200 to 700. you
And they're
know,
all here?
and they're here.
They're all here.
right
in
here.
the tasting room.
So, but you know, this building itself has got a lot of historical significance. This was built in the late 40s, around 1950. This was a black elementary school, and it was very rural. It was an elementary school, and I found out later they also had some high schools during those times. Kind of went back and forth. And when they closed this back in the early 70s, when integration happened in the South, this was closed, and the kids had to ride an hour and 45 minutes by bus, and they still do. You know, it's an hour and 45 minutes one way to go to school from here. And unless they go to a private school, then the kids here can't afford to go to a private school. So, and then the building was used as a school until, like I said, until about 1970, 71.
You can even still see the lines on the floor.
Yeah, you can see
Yeah,
the,
down
you
in
can
the
see
bathroom.
the lines from the classrooms,
right there.
but and we've had some actual family reunions here where a bunch of the kids actually went to school here,
Oh, really?
and that's very enlightening
Yeah.
to see because they come in, you can just see it in their eyes. They're like, "Wow, the classroom's over here, and the classroom's over here." Then it's funny to watch them start arguing. No, Miss Johnson's class was over here, but we had a lady that in the auditorium back here that was the brew house, the pilot brew house. We had a lady that reached up and touched a young lady that was about 30 on her shoulder, and she said, "I want you to try to see this. This is where your grandmother fixed all the meals for the school."
Wow.
And
That's
her
amazing.
grandmother's family had actually donated the land. The Fords had donated this land to the school system. So it closed down around 1970, and then, do you remember when Flex Tech wound up?
The early 80s.
Yeah, the early 80s.
They purchased the building.
Actually, they were given the building. The county school board gave them the building and 8 acres. You know, the building was always here, and it was just locked down. I mean, it was pretty scary when you thought it. But again,
We always say it looked like The Walking Dead could be filmed.
nobody would come in here. They was
I don't think it looks like that anymore.
Oh no, she is.
I think that is filmed in Georgia somewhere.
It is.
It is not far from
Just
We
not
actually-
here.
We actually took pictures and sent it to them. My son,
Yeah.
Rob, our oldest son,
Yeah.
Oh,
sent
yeah.
pictures to them, and they're like, "Man, this would be a perfect place. We're already booked out so many sessions or seasons
Dang.
for other places. We can't do it right now, so
Oh, wow.
we had to go ahead and progress with opening the brewery." So
Dang, that would have been cool.
it would have been.
Another claim to fame.
Then you could add Omaha Brewing home to
Right.
The Walking Dead,
Walking Dead.
which could have a lot of different meanings
Right.
when you're serving beer.
Absolutely.
You know, when we bought, we knew we
It joined our property on two sides. So it was really kind of a perfect fit when we found out it was on the market.
So that kind of plays in, like, now you have this space, you have the space for a vineyard to grow your grapes and stuff. You have the brewery, you have some plans for that stuff. I mean, how do you get people here then? Or do you have other plans to, like, draw people into the area that beyond having a brewery, a winery? I mean, are there things that go along with that
So
you plan
we
on
have-
doing here? Or?
Well, currently we have two really great avenues for our customer base. One is Fort Benning. We're 13 miles from the back gate of Fort Benning. We have a huge military presence here. They're very loyal and very dedicated, and we're very grateful. The other source of customer, or the other avenue, so to speak, is Providence Canyon, which is a huge draw to the south. It's considered the little Grand Canyon, and we have a billboard right outside the exit.
Wait,
So-
there's a brewery here?
Exactly. So
And soon to be a vineyard and a distillery.
soon
eventually.
to be all kinds of fun things. But we were told that 288,000 visitors went through the canyon last year.
Oh, wow.
And
That is quite a
so
bit.
it's a huge draw to this area. And is a big part of our customer base on a Saturday. So we get a lot of people from Providence Canyon that have never been here before. And then we have Richland Rum and Swamp Fox. So we have a rum distillery in Richland, and we have Swamp Fox, which is a whiskey distillery in Buena Vista. And we are very close friends and you know, networking partners. And customers that go there end up here, and customers that come here end up there.
So while it
We were
seems like
really,
you're kind of in the middle of nowhere, you're really not.
it
you-
feels
I mean, it
like
feels
we're
like
in
that,
the
but
middle
you're
of
really
nowhere, but it is a true build it and they will come.
Well, and especially with the community and the
Thing.
collaboration and everything you've built with the people that in the areas that are around here.
You know, when we first opened, you know, I told Stephanie, I said, you know, the military here, there's so many different people. There's something like 120,000 people come through Fort Benning in training every year.
Oh, wow.
Well, guess what? They're not from Georgia. They're from other states that drink craft beer. And, you know, there's a lot of upper echelon training, whether it's Ranger or Airborne school, but there's also captain's classes and officers candidate school. So you got people coming from all over the world to Fort Benning. And guess what? We're, you know, just down the road. So when they come here, they're like, man, I want the beer that came from Omaha when I was in Ranger
Yeah.
school. Or I want the beer. I'm in Germany. How can I get Omaha? We get those requests all the time. Obviously, we can't do that, but we do. We get, you know, people from all over the world like, man, I need to get back to Omaha. That's where I went to Ranger school. That's where I got my commission as an officer in the Army. Or I went to an officer's, a captain's class to learn tactics or whatever it's from. And they're, not only are they here, when they graduate, their families come from all over the world to come to the graduation, and they don't come for a day. They come for, you know, they're going to come to Georgia. They want to see what's around, and they want to stay a few days. And they all want to come drink beer. So,
Nice.
Well, and having been here before, we know that you guys aren't just looking at the military base as just customers.
oh no,
I mean, you
gosh,
guys
no.
have been super supportive of them, and we were lucky enough last time we were here to witness a hail and farewell ceremony, which was really cool that you guys hosted here in
Well,
the tasting
they
room. which-
become, I mean,
that's
they
They-
become family. I mean, we
and
have
you
had,
hired a lot of
We have.
active or their families.
we have
and-
actually, our tasting room manager, her husband was at Fort Benning, and
He was
that's
in
how,
Ranger training school.
that's how they ended up here, and she's working for us, and, but they become family, and then they have to move, and we're like, hey now, y'all signed up for this, but we didn't.
But now you have family all over the world.
And we do.
Yeah,
But
I
we're,
can hear
we're
you.
constantly watching the news. You know, like, you know, we've got somebody that's, you know, so and so is there right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Whether it's Korea or in the Middle East or anywhere in the world, we've got, you know, friends and literally they're family to us, and we know them. I mean, we know their children, we know their family history, and they spend a year or 2 or 3 or 4 years here, and they go off. And they don't ever know when they will get transferred. So some of them think, well, we're going to be here 5 years, and they're being here 5 months, and we get really attached to
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Well, and it's not just those guys too, though. I mean, I've seen you guys, especially with anybody walking through the door. You're like almost immediately family here. It's like you guys are very welcoming and very inclusive of everybody, and you just feel at home here.
It's a
That's,
family
thank you.
business.
That's a huge compliment
That's
because
the-
that is
that's the ultimate
absolutely
compliment
what
for us.
we
It's very much
strive
meant to
to
be.
create.
Well, that's exactly what I meant when it's like, oh, it's like we're coming home.
Yeah,
that was so
It is.
weird.
yeah, I love that.
So Hayden, on another note then too, do you see like with all these different people and all the family that you've met and everything, do you have a lot of people that in the brewing part of it that maybe want to suggest certain beers that they've missed or ideas that they give you, or like how do you come up with the different, because you guys have a huge amount of beers on tap and they're all really great.
So, D. Moore, he's our brewmaster, and he's a fantastic brewer. He's been been brewing for 30 plus years, mostly home brewing, but if you know how to brew really well like a home brewer and figure things out on a small scale, then you can do a lot on a big scale. When you have 1,000 gallons of work to play with, you can do a lot of different things. And so it's just a matter of, a lot of it comes from that 2 of our brewers are chefs as well. And they know a lot about food, they know a lot about flavors and pairings, and that shows a lot in our beers. We do mango habanero IPA, we do a lot of different sours, and a lot of their chef skills show in what we brew.
That's awesome. You hear a
Yeah,
lot
that's
of-
one thing that struck me when we came here is, especially along the south, there's a lot of lighter beers, a lot of lager beers, and just pretty easy drinking mellow beers. But you guys have, you have that available for people that want that, but you have a wide range of beer here, at 20 taps, and like I see a lot of styles here that you don't see very often in a lot of other places sometimes. Like right now, there's an alt beer on tap.
Yep. We love to brew new beers, new styles. We want to have a wide, like you said, wide range of beers, and a lot of beers that nobody has ever seen or even heard of before. Like you said, so they come in and they get to try new beers that they didn't even know existed, and they get to try here.
Well, and I know what you're talking about with D being very creative, because like as home brewers, you're always looking to play around a little bit and stuff, because we homebrew a little bit.
Oh yeah.
And here you guys get to play on a big scale, and like you have, barrel aging. You've got the wine grapes now that you probably get to play with a little bit.
That's gonna be
We have been
fun.
doing some.
Work that
last
into
week,
some
yeah.
things.
We
gonna
made
be
a few
very
beers
fun.
with that, and they're fantastic.
So our brand is Living a Stout Life, and Living a Stout Life is about enjoying great craft beer and finding cool places like Omaha Brewing to enjoy craft beer. But it's also like just grabbing hold of life and doing something you enjoy. So what we like to ask people a lot is, we have our vision of what a stout life is, but everybody's is a little bit different. What would you guys say is your vision of a stout life?
Living a stout life for us is what we're doing, and that is creating a place where people feel like family, and creating a business that will sustain our family for generations to come. And embracing the challenges enough to enjoy it, So many times I think that you have a goal and you get kind of fixated on that goal, and you forget to really enjoy the journey. And sometimes the journey gets a little tiresome and challenging, and you kind of get stuck in the muck of it. So I think living a stout life is just learning to enjoy the journey.
I'd say any time in my life that I get to spend with my family every day of the week. I lived in Atlanta and my family was here. I obviously have family in Atlanta too, but my mom, Robert, my stepdad, they're here and they're a big part of my life. And now that I get to spend every day with them, it's just, family's the best. It's part of life.
It's gonna melt my heart.
Family is everything to us,
I get to wake up in the country. I don't have any stoplights. There's a book that I love that I read. It's called Keepers of the Ekawah. And there's an opening, but it's truly the epitome of living in the country and waking up and walking outside and, whether it's, you know, being a man and being able to pee outside or
Or a woman and being able to pee outside.
right.
Like, I totally love that too. I can pee where I want and I can go where I want.
and just, you know, whether to, you know, to hunt and fish on our own property and to be able to share that with people. That for us, sharing this is one of our biggest pleasures, is sharing Omaha, sharing the brewery, but also sharing our family and sharing our home. For them to come down and see things they've never seen, you know, to be out in the country, to get on a Ranger and ride through the woods and go mudding on Sunday, or, you know, just build a fire. So many people don't. It's every day for us.
It's experiencing Omaha through somebody else's eyes.
Getting hit by the Omaha book.
We call it Omabit. People get Omabit when they
Nice.
come hang out here.
They always come back.
Well, yeah. How about that
Obviously,
one?
we came back.
We can do the cheers to Omabit.
Yes.
Trying to get
We gotta
something
do
in
that.
there. This is a cheers.
cheers.
It's in there. Hey, cheers to Omabit.
There are new episodes with new conversations every Sunday night. Be sure to subscribe and click the little gray bell so you don't miss out. We'd love to hear from you. Where is your hometown? April was born in Dell Rapids, South Dakota, and Ken, Burwell, Nebraska. How about you? Let us know in the comments below or by following the link in the description.
Yeah,
Great
You
Creeks.
ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
You can do the whole like action.
Action.
Yeah.